Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. Welcome to our forum. We are honored to be together here and to talk. Salah gue. Okay. Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. Welcome to our forum. We are honored to be together here and do a forum regarding a topic cybersecurity, law, privacy, and teacher responsibility. Before the forum begins, I would like to introduce for the three segments included in our forum. First, it will start with discussing about legal framework, moving on to data privacy, and lastly, about preventing cybercrime. This talk will be conducted in a flow state with a coherent sequence between the three of us, which is I'm Intan Shariza Putri,
I'm Putri Dilian Chong, and I'm Najahatul Madiha. Let's start our forum for today. Starting with the legal framework, the shield of the quality education lies on cyber laws in education. So cyber laws in education is a distinct point that us, teacher trainees, 6 now, need to emphasize just so that the responsibility of futuristic teachers can be done. As what we all know, in the digital classroom, laws act as the guard for the massive influx of student data. When a school or educational technician provider fails to protect this information, whether it is because of a weak password or an unencrypted database, they move from a mistake into the realm of legal negligence. In this context, we should be talking about national or international laws. But first of all, let's start with international laws. International laws works as a global standard, which mainly known as GDPR, that works in European Union and United Kingdom, also influences us. So GDPR stands for General Data Protection Regulation. It is one of the most stringent framework affecting digital classrooms globally. It treats children's data with special protection because they may be less aware of risk. So, what is the reason for our constitutes negligence? So it falls to appoint a data protection officer, which known as DPO, but not conducting a data protection impact assessment before using a new act, or failing to report a breach within 72 hours. In this circumstance, the penalties will be up to 10 million euro or 2% of global annual turnover. Next, moving on to the national laws, which is what works in us, Malaysia. We have one of the most distinct, which is Personal Data Protection Act, known as PDPA. So while GDPR are administrative, we use cybercrime acts to penalize individuals or institutions for gross negligence that leads to data theft. In Malaysia, if there is data theft, the theft can be fined up to 300,000 ringgit Malaysia and potential imprisonment for officers who ignore security standards, whom that does not fill the report, breach within 72 hours. Also works for Singapore, which is the PDPA system. Other than that, there's also India with Information Technology Act that works for the Section 43A with the mandation that requiring schools to pay damages to affected students. What about the cyber laws in your opinion?
So I will share about intellectual property in the futuristic digital classroom. In today's world, everything is digital. Students remix their TikTok videos or even their YouTube creation and also use AI to generate their assignments and essays. Most importantly, they always copy images from Google for slides. Now, in this situation, we can be seen as, we are not finally seen as consumer, but we are now seen as a creator. That's why, as a catalyst teacher, a teacher need to promote quality and responsibility for the students to teach them about respect original ideas and also respect their own creation in the digital creation. Students love to remix their content. They always add music, they always reuse video clips and take images from the internet, like how I said before. However, many students think that it is if something can be reached online, it is all free to use. But all of this actually called as copyright traps. Copyright means all right reserved, where it cannot be simply take, copy or reuse without a proper permission. On the other hand, we also have Creative Commons, where it means it means that some right reserved. This aspect means that the creator allows others to use their content, but usually with a certain condition where they need to give credits to the creator. So, from this intellectual property, it also focused for us to the importance of practice of attribution, which means that a futuristic teacher should make attribution as a habit. A teacher must act as a role models for their students to copy-paste the manners and behavior in their daily life. So, for example, a teacher must tell the students or remind their students that every slide you create, you must include a source name or recite them. So by modeling this kind of behavior in class, in every tutorial task, the teacher becomes a shield to their students. Because in this, it costs protecting students from future plagiarism, accusation, or even legal issues in university or their future careers. So in conclusion, teaching intellectual property is not about being strict to the students, but it's also about us building an ethical digital citizens.
Before I continue our first segment, I would like to ask a question. If a student is harassed on WhatsApp during midnight, like past our school hours on a private platform, do you think the teacher is legally responsible for it? What do you guys think?
I would say no.
And from a strictly legal perspective, a teacher's duty of care generally applies during school hours only, within school premises or on official school platforms. If harassment happens privately, the teacher may not be directly liable for the act itself. However, this is where the issues become much more complex. If the harassment affects the student's academic performance and emotional well-being or any participation in class, it becomes a school issue where teacher really play an important role for it. When a bullied students become silent in discussion, stop submitting assignment, and also showing signs of distress, the impact has entered the classroom. So even if the teacher is not legally the shield, they are ethically the first responder for this problem. The digital world has blurred the boundaries. School friendship extend into social media, group projects have moved to Telegram, and some classroom discussion also continue on WhatsApp. The line between school space and private space is no longer clear nowadays. Therefore, teachers today must do more than just teach content. They must establish clear digital conduct expectation, encourage reporting mechanism, and also ensure the classroom remains psychologically safe. Liability in the digital era is not just about legal obligation, it is about professional and moral responsibility.
Moving on to our second segment about data privacy, I will start with talking about the general issues that people always bring up. We always talk about students stealing content, but there's a flip side. What about the platform that steal students' data? And it is one thing to protect an author work, I know, but it is another thing to protect the students' own privacy. So let's move to the important issue of futuristic classroom, which is the price of the free tools. Today, quality education requires modern digital tools. Teachers always use Canva for presentation, quizzes for quiz, and ChatGPT for brainstorming. Many of these tools are free, but because they seem free, that doesn't mean they are harmless. We must ask an important question to ourselves before we teach others using digital tools. If the product is free, what? If the product is free, then who is the product? Because the very often answer, it will be the student themselves. Because this is when the data mining comes in. Many free apps collect data from background. They can always track a student's location, how long they spend on the tasks, or even what they click on. So this data did not just simply disappear. It is often used to advertise, or third-party companies use to build a digital profile of the child. So again, this is when a teacher comes to save and be a shield for your students. I will share a few tips of what a teacher can do. First, we must be selective with the application we choose to use. And second, we need to read the privacy policies first before we introduce the tools for the students. And third, as a teacher, we need to teach students digital awareness. We must let them understand that when they click I agree on those pops up on platforms or websites, they are giving their permission to other parties to collect their data. So, a futuristic teacher balance innovation with protection. They use modern tools, but responsibly. They ensure that technology empowers student digital citizenship, not just exploit their own data for the people to use.
I will talk about digital footprint, which is one of the issues that we should aware about. Every student today is building a digital identity whether they realize it or not. A digital footprint includes posts, comments, likes, and photos from the social media. Like, of course, nowadays students really love just posting on social media, right? Even me myself. So many students believe that online content is just temporary for them. So they think it's just a story, nobody will care about it, and it will disappear in just 24 hours. But the internet does not forget about it. Screenshot does exist. Data is stored on servers, and platforms collect metadata. Even deleted content may remain archived somewhere. This is why it's very dangerous. What feels like a harmless joke at age 15 can resurface during university applications, scholarship review, scholarship interview, and also job requirement processes. They could affect it if they found something bad, like your digital footprints. We have seen real cases where old tweets or posts have cost individuals their careers. The concept is this: students are building permanent public records before they are mature enough to understand long-term consequences. They don't think that posting that will affect them in the future. They just want to have fun. This is where the teacher's role becomes preventive rather than reactive. Teacher must act as a digital filters, not by controlling the students, but by teaching reflection on the act that they do. before posting, students should learn to ask themselves, will I be proud of this post in 5 years from now? Yeah. Digital education is no longer optional, it is protective. If we fail to teach our students about digital footprints, we are allowing them to construct a future reputation blindly, which is very, very dangerous for our generation nowadays. So,
As what you just said, digital footprints related really strongly with what I'm going to talk about, which is ethical AI use. So students will be taking the privacy risk of inputting their personal data into AI chatbot, whether it is Gemini, ChatGPT, or DeepSeek. Because in our modern digital classrooms, integration of generative AI, as what I have mentioned just now, has introduced a new silent threat, which is known as recursive data exposure. Unlike traditional software, AI models often learn from the data users feed them. So that is why when we need to generate an image, we've got some pictures that we don't even know who are they. Yeah. So it makes every prompt a potential permanent record, as what you have mentioned about the chip. So when there's a privacy risk, it actually acts as like a black box for the students. So when they input personal data into a consumer-grade chatbot, which is free, they are just sending a message. They are potentially contributing to a global training set. So the data persistent and the right to be forgotten is no longer existing. So under GDPR, individuals have the right to request data deletion even after we had agreed. If we file a request, GDPR will do that. So once the student's personal details are ingested into a large language model known as LLM, what I'm talking about right now is international laws in the UK, it is technically difficult, if not impossible, to untrain the model on that specific data point. We could let that data just be forgotten by the system. So for the shadow profiling, AI tools can aggregate small, seemingly harmless inputs to create a shadow profile of a student's learning disabilities, political leanings, or socioeconomic status, which three of these aspects could theoretically influence future algorithmic decisions like university admissions or credit scoring. So that is why us in Malaysia, if we were known as B40, M40, or T20, it actually influences our university admissions and what help that we will actually receive from the government itself. So the teacher, us, we need to work as the data sentinel because our role has shifted from just delivering content to managing a high-stakes data ecosystem. So for us, we need to guard AI privacy of the students by adopting a policy when we teach. So we need to anonymize ourselves first, which is by using persona-based prompting. Instead of asking the chatbot to help me write my essay about my life, we should use help me structure an essay about a teenager living in the suburban environment. We do not expose our own information saying that I'm a teenager. I am just giving an example to the chatbot saying that, can you make something about a teenager? So the chatbot doesn't even know if you are an adult or a teenager. So in this circumstance, the duty of care, which is on us for the ethical AI use. So for the legal reality check in 2024 until 2025, several US districts began implementing AI consent forms. Even if we agree, there is still some concerns that allow us to delete all the data that we had given to the chatbot. So the shift from ethical burden to informed consent
It ensures parents understand that the AI is an external processor, not something that we can rely on totally for homework, just so that the parents can tell their kids to use AI properly.
I think our share of data privacy is really useful. So how about we step on to the next segment, shall we?
Sure.
Sure. So to touch about the topic teacher responsibility, we need to focus on cyber crimes. We need to know how to prevent cyber crimes that keeps on happening now in the digital era. Talking about cybercrime, on the other hand, it reminds of one main thing, which is cyberbullying. So for cyberbullying intervention, we need to talk about, since we're talking about quality education here, we cannot mention that quality if students feel unsafe. Today, bullying no longer only happens in school corridors. It happens in private group chats and Instagram stories, and oftenly happens in comment section. And often, teachers don't even see it. This is why, as a teacher, as a catalyst, we need to emphasize digital empathy for our students. Because prevention is better than cure. The teacher cannot just become the tech expert, but they are also becoming an emotional guard who spots trouble before it turns worsen into crimes. As a teacher, when the situation happens, they don't just stop the fight after it explodes. They build a classroom culture where bullying cannot even happen, cannot even grow in the first place. One powerful concept that I'm going to introduce here to you guys today is upstander effect, which is we are activating students rather than being a bystander. They become someone who stood up for the victim. In many bullying cases, there is three main groups, which is
The bully.
the bully, the victim, yes, and also the bystanders. As a catalyst teacher, we need to empower these bystanders to become someone who is active, not just those students who see a hurtful messages in the group, then say nothing. Instead of teaching students to mind their own business, we must teach them how silence sometimes means that we support harms. But on the other hand, we need to think, we need to investigate. Why are students often getting much more aggressive online? They become rude because it is actually explained by a psychological concept that digital environment means that people have become acting much more aggressive online because they cannot see the other person face or emotion reaction. So for example, when you don't see someone cries, you don't actually fully feels the impact of your words to them, right? Now, let's talk about the intervention that we can do to prevent cyberbullying. In many schools, the response to cyberbullying is simple. Delete the comment, punish the student, or even suspend the student. However, instead of only focusing on punishment, we need to facilitate a structured way to let students reflect on their own attitudes online. The bully must listen and understand how their comment affected their victim, and the victim themselves must have given the chances, the safe space for them to speak up. This is powerful move because it is not just a one-step incident. It is also to prevent the future ones to happen. And for us teachers in the school environment, this is important.
Yes. Apart from the cyberbullying that actually happens between students and students,
Yes.
in my opinion, scams that actually happens a lot that involve students and outsiders is also um, a risk that puts the whole school network in a dangerous situation. So when a single student was hacked, like the account was hacked, it is the weakest link in a multi-million-dollar network. For an example, us having the Dilemma account. So if our Dilemma account actually got hacked by outsiders, specifically people from outside of our nation, they may know lots of secrets that stays in our education system. Even if it doesn't affect that much, it still gives an impact in our democratic way. So in this circumstance, we as teacher trainees, we need to ask our students to be really aware of what will lead to phishing and scams. So for the single point of failure risk, so why is a 14-year-old's account so valuable? But in fact, in a modern school, accounts are often single sign-on, so where the one stolen password grants an attacker access to the LMS, which is our Canvas Google Classroom, where they can spread malicious links to other students, as what we have seen really commonly in Telegram. Like in Telegram, our study groups, our school groups, there's a lot of links that leads to forex, and which is outrageous because us students, we might not know what is about it, so we join the link and we might got scammed. And for the internal directories, like providing names and emails of staff for more targeted spear phishing. If an outsider have any revenge that they wanted to take on the person that is in the school, but not the students, but by hacking the student's account, they can do so too. They can use the name of the student and ask the teachers or the staff to actually come and meet them, help them, but instead it is just the hackers. And for the cloud storage, it accesses sensitive school documents or peer work, which is what related to our confidential exam paper. And for the recognizing the digital hook, us teachers must move beyond don't click links and teach students to recognize the emotional triggers used in social engineering. So what is meant by the urgent grade fish, which is like an email stating that your final project was not received, click here to re-upload or receive 0. If we receive that kind of email, we should be aware and not click it, because as what we know, all of the work or tasks will be distributed evenly in Google Classroom. That is an official platform for us to upload our work or any links that related to our educational studies. So for the baiting scam like free Roblox, free Robux, we should not compromise that. Like we should not be lured by all of that thing. Instead, we should know that nothing comes without any effort. So yeah. So in this circumstance, trick students into giving out account recovery info or downloading viruses. And the last one, which is by teaching cyber skepticism. So we need to ask the students to check who is the sender and the tone, just so that we can prevent what the hackers could do. What about you?
As we can see, school mostly invest heavily in antivirus software, firewalls, and also monitoring system. However, cybercrime does not always attack the system. It actually attacks the human. Like for example, those cameras create fear. Like the sentence "click now or lose access" make all of us will be scared, and we think of it not rationally, and we just click it. And also those hackers who manipulate authority with like the message, this message is from the principal. Technology alone cannot stop emotional manipulation. This is why we need what experts call the human firewall. A human firewall is a student who thinks before clicking, questions suspicious links, and also refuse to share personal information about themselves, and also verifies before believing it. In another word, critical thinking becomes cybersecurity. Teacher must actively build the internal firewall by demonstrating safe digital behavior, teaching students how phishing works, and encouraging healthy skepticism and promoting digital ethics. When students develop critical thinking and digital awareness, they protect not only themselves but also the entire school network. Yes.
So, for the conclusion, the three pillars of what we had discussed in both three segments, which is legality, privacy, and safety, is what us teacher trainees really need to emphasize to be teach for our students, just so that we can prevent all those unexpected and unwanted things to happen. So in this circumstance, quality education in the 21st century is impossible without digital security. But with our but with prevention, we can curb the situation where we, teacher trainees, or the students might affected by the digitalization.